What's up everyone and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Today's video is brought to you by Mac Weldon and we'll hear more from them later.
For our first question, Caleb Sexton asks if the Rise of Skywalker makes watching Return of the Jedi less fulfilling.
Specifically because, Palpatine comes back and all that. And even though I'm not a fan of that plotline, I still say no, not at all. I think Return of the Jedi is still very fulfilling to watch.
Having just recently watched it, very recently, no way. I mean, Return of the Jedi is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and the thing is, the climax of that movie isn't about whether or not Palpatine dies. That's kind of like the side effect, but really the emotional core of the story is A, whether or not Luke will fall to the dark side, and then B, whether or not Anakin will return to the light side. Like, that's what you're excited about when you're watching that movie. It's like, he's saving his son, thank goodness. It's not like we as the audience are celebrating like, yes, Palpatine's been destroyed and evil will forever be vanquished. And It's also not like Anakin or Vader in his head is going like, finally I will fulfill my destiny and the prophecy and I'm killing Palpatine. Like, no, he's like, I'm saving my son. I'm finally going to do the right thing.
I feel like people who maybe grew up watching the prequels first before they ever saw the original trilogy might think this way because, I feel like people who saw the original trilogy first, the Emperor was barely in it.
Right.
He was not a big part of those movies. But you go to the prequels, Palpatine is like this very complex character, and you find out a lot more about him. I'm not thinking about the Emperor much at all in the original trilogy.
Exactly. In the original trilogy, he's a plot device for Anakin's redemption. And it's interesting to look back at all the trilogies because it's like George Lucas had a different reason for making the prequel trilogy than the original trilogy. Like, he's talked about how he wanted to show how democracies can just be given away to dictators. That's what he wanted to do, and it makes complete sense to use Palpatine for that. And so, yeah, Palpatine's a lot more central to the prequel story. But for the originals, yeah, the Emperor is mentioned in A New Hope, appears in one scene for Empire, and then is finally around a little bit more in Return of the Jedi, but he's not a big part of it. So, yeah, I guess maybe that helps having grown up with the originals and just being like, yeah, this is all about Vader and his redemption, instead of saving the galaxy even though that's part of it. Like, the most enjoyable or fulfilling part of that movie to me is watching Vader and Luke and their struggles.
Coffee Doggo wants to know what we hope the main focus of season 2 of The Bad Batch will be. Dryden Boss.
Yeah, it's all about Crimson Dawn. Finally, he's showing up. I mean, it's a complete guess at this point since we have one more episode, but of course it's like we just got the announcement that there would be a season 2. I still hope that an element of the show is going around and helping other clones who need help. After yesterday's episode, I'm really hopeful that Crosshair is a bigger part of it. I hope he rejoins the team, even if it's in a awkward way at first.
I'm fine if he doesn't rejoin.
A house divided.
Yeah.
Well, then what do you want the focus to be?
I don't really know. I am excited to get into the universe a bit deeper, see what other characters pop up that we already know. But it's funny, like, towards the beginning of the season, everybody was like, oh, Omega this and Omega that, and what's special about Omega? But she hasn't had any, like, of her own centric episodes. So, since, like, the very beginning of the season. So, I want to get some more Omega stuff.
Yeah.
Even if there's not something particular about her that makes her special, I still miss episodes that are more involving her.
Well, I think they've even teased some things about, like Hera and her parents were talking about how, like, we need to fight to make this galaxy better, or else this fight will become their fight, and ultimately it does. But I think they've been kind of playing with that throughout this season, while the Bad Batch is like, what do we do? I guess we're mercenaries. And Crosshair even brought that up. So I guess I'd like to see them make a decision to be more active in not the rebellion at this point, but some sort of resistance and some form of fighting back.
Melon Patch asks why Rex seems to be more involved in the early resistance against the Empire in the Bad Batch, but isn't part of the rebellion in Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, so he even has a line in Rebels about how he's like, well, the Empire's not the Republic, but what are you going to do? I think that Rex is probably going to go through some sort of traumatic event that makes him go like, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
Me and Wolf and Gregor are going to go live on this walker.
Yeah, I mean, they've been through enough, have they not?
Yeah. But, like, still, it seems like he's involved in some sort of resistance at this point. So why does he stop?
I think, like, some kind of tragedy or, like, just some big event happening would make sense as to, like, why, yeah, kind of just takes a hiatus and then we see them come back.
Either that, or it's just going to be one of those things that doesn't quite line up, where when they were doing Rebels, they were like, oh, let's bring Rex in, and then what could he be doing? Oh, let's put him on this walker, that'd be fun. So maybe they just didn't have his whole story mapped out, and now that we're doing the Bad Batch, it's like, let's make him a little more involved, but I'm still kind of expecting something terrible to happen to make him want to just go away.
Cam wants to know if the High Republic will ever have the same level of notoriety as the original or prequel trilogies.
Probably not, as much as I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, probably not, unless they blow our minds and make a trilogy of theatrically released movies set in the High Republic, but I doubt that's going to happen. I do hope it expands past publishing into something, but it'll never be as big as the movies. Yeah,
I look at it the same way I usually look at Star Wars books, or jump back to like the New Jedi Order and the Legends days. And if you talk to most Star Wars fans, they didn't know what that was. Like, there's the bulk of Star Wars fans don't read the books. So as of right now, I think most people might be vaguely aware of what the High Republic is, but not like actively involved in it. So I think it would take, at least one movie to really introduce that era to other people. But right now it's just publishing, and I think it's going to stay that way for at least a few years. So right now I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I keep saying that I want there to be some kind of show, like animated show, because I think that would fit really well in the High Republic era. That would certainly help get people interested if there was like an animated TV show. So fingers crossed. Caffeine Imperium asks if Yoda will wind up being responsible for the way the Jedi Order changes during the High Republic, or did he resist it?
No, I think he's going to be responsible for it to some degree. Like, not that he is fully to blame, but I think that we're going to see the High Republic as these series of events that slowly cause the Jedi to change. And it's like, I didn't mean to make this analogy, but people sometimes call Yoda a frog. It's like, it's the frog in the boiling water, where if you throw it in the pot, it freaks out. But if you boil it over time, you don't really notice the heat changing. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I think is going on, is that there's this gradual change. And it's not like the Jedi one day decided, let's change everything about how we operate.
Yeah, I wouldn't put all the blame on Yoda, but I'm sure it's a collaborative effort, and all the Jedi in the High Republic time, and then any of them in between. It's like a slow process, that one that you might not recognize is happening until it's too late, which is why I think we get Yoda with that line of maybe misread the prophecy has, is like, that's when he's like, this might have been not a good idea.
We also see in the Clone Wars him kind of shift back to the way the Jedi should be, and then especially we see that in Rebels, and of course The Empire Strikes Back. So I think it is fitting that we have a Jedi Master who's like seen it all he was there during the height, and then he may have not noticed that they lost their way, but he knows what it looks like to be a Jedi back in the golden age. So he still has that perspective. Like we mentioned earlier, today's video is brought to you by Mack Weldon. You've probably seen their underwear advertised before, but they have a lot more to offer, which I didn't know about before. They were kind enough to give me some credit for their website, so I got 6 pairs of their boxer briefs, a pair of their sweatshorts, and a set of masks. And I can honestly say their AirKnit X boxer briefs are insanely comfortable. But their masks also fit great, and I love the sweatshorts. Let's be honest, after the past year, a lot of us got used to wearing pants with elastic bands, and who knows if we're ever going back. It's great having a pair of comfortable sweatshorts that I actually think look good wearing out and about. If you've been wanting to give Mack Weldon a try, then we have some good news. We've got a promo code for you. Buy sometime this summer with the Mack Weldon Daily Wear System. For 20% off your first order, visit mackweldon.com/Star Wars Explained and enter promo code Star Wars Explained.
On to YouTube questions, BlazeCap1213 asks, what happened to non-human Republic officers like Meeber Gascon when the Empire took over?
I think they probably had a chance to show their loyalty or whatever, but I would expect that the non-human soldiers got phased out like the clones did, or they left of their own accord because they saw what was happening. And the Empire is pro-human and anti-alien, so...
Yeah, the Empire is known for not taking too kindly to non-human species.
Right.
Even Thrawn, they were like, I guess.
Yep.
So that's the main explanation for it, I suppose.
I don't think they were all just kicked out immediately, but I think that I would assume that Meeber Gascon would have left Imperial service pretty quickly.
Yeah. They all seem to have a lot of sense, and they're like, no, none of this. I'm gonna get out of here.
I'm taking D Squad and I'm leaving.
Matthias Veloso wants to know where Rex was in the Daro episode of The Bad Batch.
So now we're last week's episode. I like to think that he was meeting up with Wolf, trying to rescue Wolf, just because it seems fitting that the Bad Batch is rescuing Gregor, Rex is rescuing Wolf, and then they all meet up and they hang out on their walker.
On their walker. That sounded like an old person walker.
Yeah, well,
kind of is.
They get there.
Yeah.
They just spend all day on it fishing.
I originally was thinking that maybe he was with Ahsoka and, yeah, helping rescue other clones. But on the Clone Zone last week, Rick Villanueva brought up that he might be with Saw Gerrera. And I keep expecting him to pop back up, but now we only got one episode left as far as when this video comes out. So I don't know, we might not see him till season 2. But I do like the idea of him being with Saw.
Saw's going to come back too, with Dryden Voss.
Mike Darklighter asks if a Star Wars game introduced us to any genres we may have otherwise ignored.
A great last name. Love that, Mike Darklighter.
Love that for you.
B, flight sims. I don't think I ever would have played any games like Squadrons or X-Wing without Star Wars. And I got sucked into those as a kid because I loved X-Wings. Yeah.
I played around a little bit with the N64 game, but not enough to finish it. So I can't say that they introduced me to any new genres. I did try to play Squadrons. I'm terrible at it. So,
well, you're not nearly as much of a gamer as I am. But still, yeah, it got you into a third-person action adventure. I assume you mean Shadows of the Empire, or do you mean Pod Racer?
Shadows of the Empire, yeah. I did play that one on occasion, but I never finished it. And I never, cared enough to, want to learn how to play it.
It's weird,
I loved just playing, flying around on Hoth.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these days, I feel like I play a game and I beat it and good. But, growing up, I didn't feel the pressure to beat a game. I didn't beat Jedi Power Battles with my best friend growing up until we were adults. And then we tried to do it, and it was hard. And that's why we never beat it as kids.
Games were hard.
We just gave up.
Games were hard back then. Big Sakurai wants to know if we'll see Dengar, Bosk, or Cad Bane in the Book of Boba Fett. Let's see them all.
Yeah.
Throw them all in there.
I would love to. The same way that The Mandalorian started out with, like, knockoff Boba Fett and knockoff IG-88. Like, let's bring in the real... Oh, and there were even Trandoshans that weren't Bosk. Bring them all in now. We're at the Book of Boba Fett. Bring in Bosk. Bring in Cad Bane, Dengar, IG-88.
Let's get Gindar. That's a knockoff Dengar.
I thought you meant Gengar, the Pokemon.
Gindar.
Okay. Zuckuss, Forlom. I say put them all on the Book of Boba Fett. Let them all duke it out. War of the Bounty Hunters, too.
Yeah. I especially hope that Cad Bane is in it, because I think live-action Cad Bane would be amazing.
I think that would be super fun.
I feel like they may have even been trying to set that up a little bit by having him in the Bad Batch, and then, like, just reminder, people, there's this awesome character. This is Cad Bane. He's there. You might see him again later.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Dungeon Padawan asks why the Bad Batch is using stun most of the time in their fights.
The answer is because they don't want to kill their clone brothers, especially when they know that there's a chip in their heads, and they're trying to be a little more merciful there. But, I mean, they were still using stun against the TK troopers, and I think the real answer is that it's an animated show, and they don't want their heroes to be running around mowing people down all the time. That's why, like, Chopper, I think, got all the kills in Star Wars Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a show made for a younger audience, and you can't have that much killing going on.
That said, though, on the Daro episode, they're all using stun until Wrecker pops up in the shuttle, and he's just like, live ammunition, here we go. So maybe it's a personality thing, too, but...
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that when they find out more about the chips in the show, and then they get theirs taken out, then you really see them using the stun a lot more than they did early on. So yeah, it's just like, well, now that we know that some of these clones, our brothers, are kind of like trapped in this state of mind against their will, maybe don't want to kill them.
Right. They even pointed out, I think it was Jennifer Corbett pointed out that in earlier episodes, they were still using live fire, but a lot of their shots were non-lethal. Mm. Lots of leg shots, which I didn't really notice, but that's what they said they were going for. But yeah, I think it's just an animated Star Wars thing, which seemed to pop up with Rebels mostly. Because I remember people having the same question, being like, the stormtroopers are trying to kill you. Like, stop stunning them. But I think it's just, they're the heroes and they're supposed to be a better example.
Plus, they got a kid with them. And they don't want Omega to learn to just mow people down.
Yeah, I mean, Omega's got a body count, though. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.